Hey there, Rednecks, Preppies, Redneck Preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great? Good. You never know what treats you're going to find at a gun show. A few weeks back, I was about to leave one with little to show when I noticed a table with a selection of 22 long rifle ammunition. And not just any ammo, but old ammo. I came away with a few boxes that I purchased, mostly out of curiosity. And here is one of them. Eley Tenex. From what I'm gathered, this box style was used by Eley from 1962 to 1980 when it was replaced by plastic boxes. Now, I tried looking up the code that was stamped inside the package, but unfortunately it only told me that it was manufactured on an Eley machine in the mid to late 1970s. The best that I can determine is that this box of ammunition was manufactured around 1975, so 50 years ago. And today, I'm going to take it out to the range and shoot it out of my CZ457 Varmint MTR. Will Tenex from the Wilson administration, Harold, not Woodrow, shoot well, or did time take its toll on this once high-quality ammunition? Before we hit the range, let's take a look at and in the box. You've already seen a picture of the front of the box. There's nothing new there. The rest of it, rather unremarkable. Made in England, as one would expect with Eley. Back of the box, not much there either, other than the fact that they are recommended for top-class competition shooting at all ranges. We're not going to be testing it at all ranges today because I've only got 50 rounds. Alright, taking a look inside the box. It's paper. As I stated, in 1980 they moved to a plastic package. It has the Eley head stamp. Am I holding that upside down? Oh, there we are. As one would expect. It looks like the bullets may have developed lead oxide, or more accurately, lead carbonate. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that these bullets haven't fallen apart. I've seen stuff made out of lead from the 1980s that's actually turned to dust. That, or this is some sort of wax or lubrication on the bullets, though it does seem a bit dry. I can feel something there, but there's not much. I don't know if that's how lubrication on Eley Tenex originally was back in the 1970s, or this is just merely dried out, but it certainly is drier than today's Eley lubricant. Alright, enough talk. It is now time to pull the trigger. Since I wasn't sure how this ammunition was actually going to perform, and I didn't have much of it, I decided it would probably be a good idea to only shoot it at 50 yards. Along with testing accuracy, I also used a chronograph this session to see how the ammunition performed by the numbers. I'll discuss all of that data in this video. The ideal for me was to shoot the ammunition in as calm of weather as I could to remove the variable of wind and everything else from the results. And for the most part, I think I succeeded. The temperature was about 11 degrees Celsius or 52 Fahrenheit. A little cold for this time of the year, but it'll do. The humidity was measured at 70%, and the wind was officially 18 kilometers an hour, though it did seem calmer at the range where I was. It threatened to rain, but it was mostly cloudy during my entire visit. Now, all that preamble out of the way, I shot some sighters, 2 groups of 5, just to make sure I was on the target, to season the barrel and everything else, and surprisingly no issues there. That left me 40 rounds to shoot, or 8 groups. And oh Nelly, the first group came in at 0.385 inches, and I thought I was in for a banger of a morning. Well, I was, just not the way I'd hoped. After that, the groups basically blew up and were some of the worst that I've ever shot with my CZ457. I'll be honest, this rifle doesn't seem to like Eley very much. Give it something from SK and it sings. But these groups were worse than I usually get, even with Eley's lower end offerings. That said, this is 50-year-old rimfire ammunition, so I'm gonna be nice. There was one thing that raised an eyebrow, and that was chambering rounds. The Tenex fed from the magazines just fine, but when it came time to chamber the round, I had to apply, force to get the round into the chamber and close the bolt. I don't think that effort accurately comes through in the footage that you're seeing, but believe me, I've never had ammunition chamber with as much difficulty in this rifle as with this Tenex. Now, I'm not sure what was causing this, but every single of the 50 rounds was difficult to chamber and close the bolt on. Okay, now time for my final thoughts. When I set out to do this video, I really wanted to test this 50-year-old Tenex against modern day production. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Tenex in a local store shelf in a very long time, and so I could only go with the old stuff. So what did we learn today? Well, if you went by the chronograph numbers, you'd think this box of Tenex would perform decently at 50 yards. The chrono measured an average of 1128.3 feet per second, which, depending on barrel length, isn't out of line, but out of the 20 or so inch barrel on my rifle, it did seem pretty hot. That said, the chronograph also showed a standard deviation of 8.7, which actually is pretty decent, and an extreme spread of 47.3 feet per second. Not out of line with some of the other good ammunition I've put out of this rifle. Chronographs don't shoot groups though, and that's where the rubber hits the road. And unfortunately, it was a rough road for this old Tenex. As you can see by this picture, the measurements were awful, with an average group size of 0.804 inches, which probably was only a result because of that 0.385 inch group I mentioned earlier. Removing that one would have actually yielded an average of 0.864 inches. With all groups, however, I saw an average of 1.537 MOA, which is not great at all. All that said, what do I think? Well, based on my research, rimfire ammunition can remain functional for several decades if stored properly, and that means a cool, dry, and temperature-stable environment. If it isn't stored properly, chemical instability can result, whether in the priming compound or in the gunpowder itself, and you can have things like misfires, failure to fire, hang fires, inconsistent velocity, or poor accuracy. Whatever else, I didn't suffer most of those problems. Every round went bang like it was supposed to, and the measured velocities were reasonably consistent. The only thing that sucked was the accuracy. To put a bow on this, I didn't exactly have a great deal of experience shooting ammunition old enough to be a member of Gen X before this, but I think that I, A, overpaid for this box. I think it cost me like $16, and B, think that collecting this stuff might be fun, but I would stick to shooting new production ammunition, at least if you're hoping to maximize accuracy. At any rate, I hope you found today's video at least be vaguely entertaining and mildly informative. As always, I hope you have yourself a great day. Take care, and bye-bye.